Can a member state prohibit or restrict access to content such as audiovisual content that reflects a divergence from the personal identity corresponding to the sex at birth, a change of sex, or homosexuality, allegedly in order to protect children? This is the central question in the case decided today by the Court of Justice sitting as a full court. In 2021, Hungary adopted a law introducing stricter measures against persons convicted of pedophilia and, at the same time, amending various national legislative acts with the aim, according to the government, of protecting children and the right of parents to educate them in a manner consistent with their convictions. In essence, these amendments had the effect of prohibiting or restricting access to content whose defining feature is the portrayal or promotion of divergence from the personal identity corresponding to the sex assigned at birth, sex reassignment, or homosexuality. In response to this situation, the European Commission has brought an infringement action against Hungary regarding the adoption of this law. According to the Commission, the law stigmatizes and marginalizes LGBTI+ individuals, and Hungary has thereby violated several rules of EU law. Essentially, these involve, first, primary and secondary legislation relating to services in the internal market. Second, several rights guaranteed by the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the European Union. And third, Article 2 of the Treaty on the European Union. In its judgment, the Court upheld the Commission's position on all the grounds and ruled that Hungary had failed to fulfill its obligations under EU law. First, the legislative amendments at issue in this case infringe upon the freedom to provide and to receive services. They effectively limit the ability of media service providers or other service providers to develop and disseminate content that in essence has as its defining feature the portrayal or promotion of divergence from the personal identity corresponding to the sex assigned at birth, sex reassignment, or homosexuality. Admittedly, the Court confirms the possibility under EU law of justifying such restrictions by reference to the promotion of the best interests of the child or by the need to preserve the right of parents to ensure the education and instruction of their children in accordance with their religious, philosophical, and pedagogical convictions, as guaranteed by the Charter. Indeed, member states enjoy a margin of assessment in determining which content is likely to be harmful to the physical, mental, or moral development of minors, in the absence of harmonization rules at the EU level. But that margin of assessment must be exercised in compliance with the Charter, and in particular, compliance with the prohibition of discriminations on grounds of sex and sexual orientation guaranteed by Article 21 of the Charter. In the present case, The court finds that this is not the case. Indeed, the idea underlying the legislative amendments at issue is that any portrayal or promotion of deviation from the personal identity corresponding to the sex assigned at birth, of sex reassignment, or of homosexuality, regardless of its specific content, is likely to harm the best interests of the child. However, such an approach reflects a preference for certain sexual identities and orientations to the detriment of others, which are consequently stigmatized. This stigmatization is incompatible with a society founded on pluralism. This leads the court to find, in the present case, a breach of the very essence of the prohibition of discrimination on the grounds of sex and sexual orientation. Under these circumstances, the restrictions in question do not appear justified in any way. Minors can, in fact, be adequately protected against programs unsuitable for their age without there being any need to engage in direct discrimination on grounds of sex and sexual orientation, such as that resulting from the amendments in question. Second, the Hungarian legislation at issue also constitutes a particularly serious interference with several fundamental rights guaranteed by the Charter. These include the prohibition of discrimination on grounds of sex or sexual orientation, the right to respect for private and family life, as well as freedom of expression and information. In particular, this legislation stigmatizes and marginalizes non-cisgender individuals, including transgender people or non-heterosexual individuals, as being harmful to the physical, mental, and moral development of minors, solely on the basis of their gender identity or sexual orientation. Furthermore, the title of this legislation associates them with pedophile criminality, which is likely to reinforce this stigmatization and incite hateful behavior towards them. Under these circumstances, the interferences in question undermine the very essence of these fundamental rights and cannot therefore be justified by the objectives put forward by Hungary, namely the promotion of the best interests of the child or the right of parents to ensure the education and instruction of their children in accordance with their religious, philosophical, and pedagogical convictions. The court further found that Hungary has also violated the right to human dignity guaranteed by the Charter. Certain aspects of the contested Hungarian legislation treat a group of people as a threat to society, deserving of special legal treatment. Thus, the stigmatizing and offensive nature of this legislation leads to establishing, maintaining, or reinforcing their social invisibility, which undermines their dignity. Third, the court finds for the first time in infringement proceedings a separate violation of Article 2 of the Treaty on the European Union, which sets out the values on which the Union is founded and which are common to all member states. Indeed, the aspects of the Hungarian legislation at issue, which target content portraying or promoting divergence from the personal identity corresponding to the sex assigned at birth, sex reassignment, or homosexuality, constitute a coordinated package of discriminatory measures. These measures infringe upon the rights of non-cisgender or non-heterosexual persons in a manifest and particularly serious manner, undermining the values of respect for human dignity, equality, and respect for human rights, including the rights of persons belonging to minorities, as set forth in Article 2 of the Treaty. Consequently, this legislation is contrary to the very identity of the European Union as a common legal order within a society characterized by pluralism.